Hi, this is Cameron back again with another video. This time it's not a vinyl finds or vinyl collection video, but instead it's a response video to FlipSide CT's thread. That's Steve, his thread on Under the Radar albums. Now the way I'm understanding what Under the Radar means is these are albums that may have been very popular at the time they came out, but are now largely languishing in the bargain bins, cheap, available for new collectors. And there's something that is an alternative to the Beatles, Doors, Pink Floyd, Rolling Stones that they're picking up regularly. So without further ado, I'll get started. So the first artist I want to feature is Joan Armatrading. Joan Armatrading is a British singer who has a very bluesy voice, sings a lot of folk, rock influence, but especially blues-oriented music. She started in the early 70s and is still a very active artist nowadays. I had a chance to see her a few years ago, like maybe the last 3 or 4 years, and she did a completely blues set, which is the same as her latest CDs. Her earlier albums from the 70s are populating the bargain bins for $1 and $2 each, so I really recommend that people search them out and pick them up. So first one I have here, going in chronological order, there's Joan Armatrading's Whatever's For Us. This is from about 1973 or 72. I don't have the date on this one. So, very colorful cover. And I believe it's a gatefold, yeah. Just the lyrics on the inside. Next up, Show Some Emotion. This came out in 77. Nice smile in the back. Next up, from 79, this is a reissue from the early 80s, and I can see that I got it in a cutout bin. There's a small nick in it. Stepping Out. Next up is The Key, which came out in 83. From 85, again, it's got a little nicks from the cutout bin. This is called Secret Secrets. Then finally, from 86, Sleight of Hand. Okay, another artist that was very popular in my city, so I don't know if this is the same situation in the bargain bins elsewhere, but these albums populate the bargain bins. They're very solid British progressive rock from the early 70s. I have them all on CD, but I only have 2 on LP. This is the band Audience. First up, there's Lunch. With the popular song Stand by the Door. It's a gatefold. I have I've seen Howard Worth and Audience in the early 2000s, about 10 years ago, when they reunited. And unfortunately, they broke up again when their young recruit, who was the drummer, had passed away suddenly, whereas the older members, the original members, were still healthy. They later went on to form Howard Worth and the Moonbeams, as well as the band Sammy. Those two bands do not populate the bargain bin, so I'm not showing them. The second album of Audience is House of the Hill. Again, just a solid album all the way through. Many, many singles were popular in Winnipeg, in my city in Canada, including House on the Hill. Okay, another band that I've just recently sort of discovered. They're a 70s band, mid-70s to late 70s band from England, progressive rock. That's City Boy. I've got 3 albums by them. This is the first one, which came out around 72 or 73 on Vertigo, City Boy. Next album, called Young Men Gone West. This came out in 77. And then another one which I really like, called The Day the Earth Caught Fire, and that song is a real fabulous single of its own. It came out in 79. Next up, a Scottish singer, again with a very bluesy voice. Unfortunately, I only have 1 album. I do remember that when I picked up the Joan Armatradings in the bargain bins of the record stores, that Frankie Miller populated those bins as well, and I missed out the chance to pick those out because I just didn't know who he was. So what do I have? A compilation called I'm Only Serious, and I believe this came out in Germany, but his other albums are available easily to get in our bargain bins for $1 and $2 each. Hope to fill out my collection of Frankie Miller in the next while. Next up, real amazing Baroque rock from the late 60s. Sosi, I don't have this first name here. It's covered up with a sticker. Was it Walter Sosi? I think so. Was the conductor, and Don Gant was the singer of the Neon Philharmonic. This album came out, as I said, in the late 60s. And then the one I really love of Neon Philharmonic, I've got 2 copies of this, The Moth Confesses with Morning Girl. And Morning Girl is just a magical tune for me. It just brings me to its place. It's just about a simple love affair that the singer ostensibly has with this, well, basically like a flower child, flower girl. And someone who brings joy to his life, and I hope he does to her as well. So this is called The Moth Confesses. Let me see if this is a, yeah, this is a gatefold. Not too much on it. Again, this was a cutout at the time. Okay, an artist that maybe isn't available in the United States so easily, but in Canada is a very easy to find band in the bargain bins, Perth County Conspiracy. They were a hippie commune type of band. They did a lot of spoken word with singing, with noises, natural noises, all sorts of stuff, poetry. This is again the early 70s. Perth County Conspiracy does not exist. Then Perth County Conspiracy Alive. And then finally I have a later member of Perth County Conspiracy put out a solo album called Cabin Fever, Bob Burchill of Perth County Conspiracy. And this came out in the mid to like 75, I believe. It doesn't say here, but I believe it was 75. So these guys went on to TV careers as actors. Okay, now a whole pile I have of the next artist who definitely populates the bargain bins. And one of my favorites, he's got an operatic kind of voice, big range. His music's rock. His music is also influenced by the Eastern sounds of, I know he was an early practitioner of, player of sitar. Anyways, he himself says that he had problems with the marketing of his albums because they were very difficult to pigeonhole. He said, why should you try to pigeonhole my music when it's just music? And that's what is important. So first of all, there's contribution. These albums came out throughout the 70s and into the early 80s. Then there's second contribution, which is one I just love. I have a couple copies of that one. Then there is it just called Sean Phillips? Yeah. Then there's Furthermore. Got a couple copies of that. Do You Wonder? A couple copies of that. As you can see, they were only $1 or $2 each, so I ended up getting a lot of multiple copies. Rumpelstiltskin's Resolve, but to find them in really nice shape isn't easy. People that had them seem to love them a lot. For donating them. Later on, where he's got short hair, Spaced. Faces. Beyond Here, Be Dragons. Cosmic Debris with Richard Bugg and Joel Young. And then a reissue of his earliest music, First Impressions. That's from 1965 when he was playing sitar. I believe he played on Donovan's album, but I could be wrong, in which there's a sitar from about 1965. Next up, again, maybe to American audiences this isn't so easy to find, but to Canadian audiences this is very easy to find. An amazing, amazing maritime folk music, but with a contemporary kind of a production. Stan Rogers, and he became very famous in my city, in Winnipeg, where Mitch Podolak, who started the Winnipeg Folk Fest, helped manage him. I had a chance to see him in 1983 before he died in a plane accident in which there was a fire, and he heroically went back in after he had saved himself to try to save somebody else, and ended up dying from smoke inhalation. So this is albums that came out in the late 70s and into the very early 80s. Northwest Passage. From Fresh Water. I have another one, but I just can't find it right now. And then another guy who I think is again underappreciated, Bob Segarini, originally part of Family Tree from San Francisco area. This is about 1968. So this isn't necessarily so easy to find. But then he was part of Roxy, and they moved up to Canada. And I have those, but my RO, that part of my alphabet, is blocked off with some other LPs in the way, so I need to get another shelf built, set of shelves built. But then he was part of a band called Dudes, We're No Angels. This came out in 75. And then he did a number of solo albums. First one, and these all came out around 77 to 79. Whoops, I have a George Segal album mixed in here. You know there's three of them, but anyways, I have two featured right here. Gotta Have Pop, so this is Power Pop. And then Goodbye LA. Again, some great sort of Beatlesque power pop. As far as I know, he still lives in Canada. And then my final artist is, again, my find of the year, and absolutely astounds me, and I've already said that in another video, and I'll say it again in future videos, but my find of the year, and again, it didn't sell very well. I got it in a bargain bin. Maybe you can find it in a bargain bin too. Judy Sill. Country, religious influence, but more like mysticism influence. Singer-songwriter rock out of California. This came out in 1971. Excuse me. Please, I apologize. I do these one takes, so I don't know how to edit yet, so I apologize for that sneeze. Okay, so that's it for this video of Under the Radar. I hope it helps out some new collectors, maybe even some older collectors, of discovering some new artists. Please leave your comments at the bottom, positive or negative, it doesn't matter. I just like to get some feedback. And please, please subscribe. I'd like to continue doing different videos with some viewership. And I know subscriptions sometimes indicate the number of viewers that I might get for future videos. So take care and have a good day. Bye-bye.